Hey everybody, Dave Gristello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today we have a really special guest. It is Stephen G. Pope. He's the founder and CEO of SGP Labs. Right before I hit record on this meeting, Stephen and I were going through all these examples. He has all these visuals about how to effectively use LinkedIn to actually bring in business. So we're going to get really tactical with today's interview. We also have a nice kind of social media cherry on top where he's going to go through some of the strategies he's been using on TikTok. This will be the second time TikTok comes up in the podcast. So really interesting trend there, but really excited to dig in. But first, Stephen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here and share some stuff that can help people out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told you when we first met, you have the best background. You got Thelonious Monk there, you got Duke Ellington, you have some kind of amazing tech setup in your home studio there, which is really cool. Maybe if we have time, we'll get into that. But for people that aren't familiar with SGP Labs, briefly tell us, what you do and who you do it for.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm trying to help really mostly, CPAs, accounting firms, help them grow revenue from the right people, help them get the clients that best match them. And basically how I do that is with strategic video marketing, helping them think through a strategy, helping them implement that, helping them make it efficient and effective, because that's the trick, is like getting people to actually see this content is important, and making sure that you're able to create those aha moments with people and really make people say, wow, I'm glad I saw that, and really actually even share it. So there's a high bar to set. And, because a lot of firms, they're kind of just like checking the box with some of this stuff or not doing it at all. And so I consider it my job to educate, inform, and then help implement, and then really kind of break down like why these things are important and how to actually make them effective so it does something for you.
Yeah, I love it. And we met in the best way possible, which is a jetpack firm owner or co-founder reached out to us and said, hey, we've been having these really great results. Stephen, you should maybe chat with him, see if he's a good fit for your show. So I'm going to call this out to listeners. If you're working with somebody and they're getting you results, whether it's a coach, a vendor, whatever it is, let us know. We'll highlight them on the show. But that's how we got connected with you. I'm really excited to chat a little bit more. First question I have for you, social media is so daunting. Video is so daunting. You're really putting yourself out there. I guess for firm owners that have tried in the past, or maybe they're too timid to try in the first place, like how do you even start to approach this arena before we dive into the examples you've outlined in your screen, prior to this call?
Yeah, what I usually find is somebody doesn't have the strategy, so they're just kind of like, they don't want to waste their time, so they're not quite sure on that, or they're really just like afraid to get on camera. They don't know how to articulate themselves. So there's just a few barriers to kind of just getting in the door to like, why am I going to justify doing this if I don't know what I'm doing? And so one of the main things that I do to help people kind of reframe their position is really just like thinking about like what their purpose is for their business, who are they trying to help, what tips and what information do they have that could really have an impact, and then helping them articulate that in such a way that they feel like they're really, putting something out there that's of their standard. And then that gets them out of thinking about themselves, which is what keeps people from getting on video. They're scared to look at the camera. They're scared to all do these different things. But if you're kind of focused on really helping somebody, and that you've articulated yourself in such a way that it makes it a lot easier to get over some of those initial hurdles.
Yeah. And sorry, are you saying, conceptually you want to script out the videos before you get on? Because obviously that's interesting tactically, but also intimidating from a time perspective. But is that what you see? Is that what it takes to start doing videos, to really script out your videos?
It's going to depend for everybody. So some people can just get out there and do it. But I think what does hold people back is so I do think it's good to script it out. And long-term, maybe you don't script them out after you get good at it. But what the scripting does, and then there's also techniques of recording with the script. So it makes it kind of easier instead of, but that's a different thing. But the scripting just helps you like focus your energy and focus your thoughts. And so like before I sit down and write a video, I usually sit down and I say, okay, how am I going to make the viewer feel better after this? How am I literally going to make them say, wow, I'm glad I saw that. So I'm engineering this before I ever start writing the content. And then I write the content in a form that like, humans kind of accept information in a certain way. It's marketing. Story Brand is a great book that explains this if people want to check that out. Story Brand by Donald Miller.
at a high level, what are some of the takeaways from crafting a script or post that people actually will want to read or listen to?
Well, the main thing is getting straight to the point, relating to the person listening, that you understand where they're at, and like that you've kind of been there and you know how to like push them through this process. So establishing the want to watch the video in the first place, establishing that you're the person to give them the information, like you've got the credibility to do it, then delivering the information, and then calling someone to action to take a step. And so when you start to learn how to craft your thoughts in a structured form like that, it makes you feel a lot more powerful in terms of getting on video and giving you the confidence to do it.
Yeah. So with an example of this, and I'm not an accountant and I don't play one on the internet, but like if you're shooting a video and you're firm owner, you would say something like, do you wanna learn how to cash in on Pennsylvania R&D credits? Tune into this video, and I'm going to show you the 3 things you must remember when submitting your R&D tax or your R&D credit application. Hey everybody, I'm Bobby Jones. I have 17 years doing blah 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 blah. Right? Is that kind of the flow of what it would sound like?
Exactly. And if you think about it, like when you've watched a YouTube video, you've probably seen them do it. Like once you see how the script is laid out, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that a million times. But what you do find is with like a lot of people, when they first get on videos, they kind of ramble and they jump around from spot to spot. So they'll jump from problem to solution, back to problem, back to solution. And the human brain just like gets overwhelmed with that flow. And so it's just like, hey, let's simplify this, make it super short, concise, make you feel like you're like, every time I've run somebody through this process, they're like, wow, I feel like I can articulate my ideas better. And that increases your confidence and your willingness to even do it, because it's an investment of time and energy.
So the quick framework for videos or kind of written text is, here's what you're going to get. Here's why you should listen to me. Deliver the things that you said you're going to deliver, and then have a next step or call to action, if you will, at the end. Like that's kind of the basic formula.
Yeah, I mean that's like, I mean you made it even more simple, which I think is good. That's exactly the formula.
Very cool. Okay, so we talked very conceptually, and you said the book that you recommend is by Donald Miller. Is it story?
Building a story brand.
Okay. We'll link that up in the show notes. I think at this point, hey, for podcast listeners, we're about to go visual. I'm going to talk through it. Steven is going to talk through it. But I'll say this: Steven, if you can go ahead and share your screen, let's start talking through some of the social examples. We're going to open up their majority from LinkedIn. We're going to peek at TikTok, which is kind of interesting to really explore, kind of the potential there. So, if you're on the pod and you want to see it, we're also going to link this up in YouTube so you can actually follow right along. But Steven, walk us through some of the examples you have on how to do these posts well, and what is prompting the engagement. 12 comments here, 53 reactions. All right, so walk us through this.
Yeah, so the main thing I just wanted to show is, number one, like the goal is to get real traction with your posts, to get some engagement from people, get people commenting, asking more questions. And I show this because I especially in like the professional services firms, this professional service realm, a lot of people are pumping out more generic content, linking to external blogs, and it just doesn't get the kind of traction because people really come to these platforms to consume content here. It's kind of almost like egotistical to think that people are going to come here and then go to our outside site. No, it's like, so the main thing I would say is that I'm creating the content for this platform. Number one, I'm doing a live tomorrow. So that, it's just like I'm delivering real value on the platform. And then I'm also just structuring the content in an easy way to digest. And I'm also, I'm linking to things that, actually I can pull this post up here. So I'm really, number one, making the post easy to digest. So like if you're going to LinkedIn, you can imagine it's a feed of news. And so people are scrolling by, like, why are they literally going to stop on your post? And number one is just to capture their attention and also make it easy to read. So some people start off very casually and kind of like in a block of text that's hard to read. And I'm being very direct as to why somebody might want to read this post. And so I know from conversations that I have with people that ROI of the marketing is top of mind. And this is a question I always get, is like, hey, once I start posting on social media, when am I going to get my first customer? So I wrote a post like that really digs into that. And I really try to explain, like why that might not be the best way of thinking. And I try to articulate that the same way I do in my videos. So that's just one example. And this particular post, generated leads. I can't remember if this one converted into business, but it caused people to reach out to me and inquire more about what I do.
Yeah, so let's dissect this a little bit. So go to the top. So it's, you start off the first little blurb, but you had it in preview mode. So anybody that's just scrolling through the LinkedIn feed quickly,
right?
This is what they would read. You don't understand the
ROI. Yeah,
sorry,
over here, right? That's a good. Yeah, it's like exactly.
Yeah. So going back to that prior post, you said like the first hook to stop people here is you don't understand the ROI of marketing. If your first question is, when will I get my first customer? Right. And so that is the hook. And you developed that angle for that question because you kept talking with firms that have dealt with marketing challenges. And that's what they kept saying is we spend money, we don't know the ROI of it. So you start there, and that's the attention grabber. And then you go into a little bit more copy. You go into what 2 or 3 things that can help them. And then what does your CTA look like at the bottom? Because it got a lot of it got 2,600 views, 78 reactions. I mean, it's a highly engaged post.
Yeah. So what's interesting is like the call to action. This can get kind of complicated. I don't always do a call to action in my social posts, partly because I feel like people can get fatigued if you're always like, hey, reach out to me to talk, or hey, reach out for my services, or like when I go on these platforms, I really am trying to deliver value. So I do have calls to actions, but you will find in some of my posts, I'm not saying like, reach out to me or download this, or, I mean, I kind of am doing a call to action, which is like, I'm basically saying, hey, like, if you don't do this, like things aren't going to change. But in this particular post, I didn't really call people to action because I'm really trying to educate them and make them remember who I am.
Yep. Okay. Got it. And you're saying that the structure of this LinkedIn post is essentially the same, or at the very least, very similar to a video script you would put out there.
Yeah, I could probably turn this into a video script. I might tweak it. Every time I look at a post, I'm always like, oh, I could evolve this a little bit more. But I could totally turn this into a video. I don't know what it is. When I go to videos, sometimes my mind just wants to do it a slightly different way. But I've been doing this long enough to where I can make those calls like on the fly, right? Because I have experience doing it. But if somebody didn't have the experience, I would say, hey, you know what? You could just turn this right into a video and be fine with it.
So in your work, like, so the firm we both know, and they're so front and center in these conversations that I think wouldn't mind saying it. If we can, we'll beep it out, but I think we'll be okay. So you work with Summit CPA. They've obviously been doing quite well. We were big fans of the firm. What kind of posts are they putting out there? What kind of videos are they putting out there that are kind of resonating with the community? Do you have any specific like CPA accounting firm examples that come to mind?
Well, the only ones that I know, well, I mean, in terms of the stuff that they're putting out, it's like all their YouTube stuff. So their podcasts are doing really well, and they're pulling people in from podcast or from YouTube. They are doing stuff on LinkedIn as well, and they're experimenting with TikTok. But they're doing similar things. They're pumping out a lot more long form content that people can digest. I mean, they've got 3 podcasts. But they're doing TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. I think they do some stuff on Instagram as well. I don't help them on that front, but they're doing the whole thing. But they've been around long enough to where they've been able to incrementally put these things in place.
Yeah. Well, so and also what I'm hearing is you don't need to start on LinkedIn per se. If you already have an engine that's working, you can use additional channels to optimize. When you're meeting with a new firm, and let's say they're starting at ground zero, is the obvious first tool to go to LinkedIn? Is it to YouTube, or is it really varied firm to firm?
I usually start with LinkedIn, depending on where they are, just to give them the experience of getting out there, and then kind of building on the podcast, rolling in YouTube on top of that, and then starting to use that long form content to start producing some written material. So kind of creating ultimately getting to a place where you are recording longer video that you can then repurpose into smaller bits. But it is good to get people out on the social platforms because, it really is a networking platform. So you can meet professionals. And so there is a kind of a way to operate, you got to spend a little bit of time interacting with people to make it to take full advantage of it. But yeah, it's like LinkedIn is a great place to kind of just get your feet wet.
Yeah.
And plus
Got
it's
it. Well,
business. Yeah, it's business to business, so your customers are there.
100%. Yeah. And so let's go through one more LinkedIn example. And then with remaining time, let's open up TikTok because I'm just so curious of where this platform's going. And obviously, like I said, this is now the second episode where somebody's talked about it. So it sounds like it's
Yeah.
gaining a little bit of momentum. So anyways, let's go through one
Yeah,
more
I think
LinkedIn
that's actually a
post.
great place to if you're kind of adventurous, I think it's a great place to go. I know people that are doing really well on there. But so this was an impromptu video that I did. I didn't really script it out like I normally teach people out. I just did this short little video, 17 seconds. I know that people want to stand out from the crowd. I mean, doesn't everybody, right? We all want to. That's what we
So
want
yeah,
our business.
let's read the copy at the top for people that maybe can't see it or they're listening. There's like it starts out by saying the best way to stand out is to be different. I look around at times to see what other people are doing, and I just try the exact opposite. I call it rebel marketing. I zig when other people zag, like this black background. Why not? Nobody else is doing it. Most people copy other effective marketing. Do your own thing, stand out, or you just look like everyone else, right? So that is the whole post, and it goes into this video. And we obviously can't listen to it now, but is it reiterating that copy?
I say the exact same thing, and that's the other point too. Is that that's a side topic, but when you put out a video, you do want to have the copy to support it because some people won't watch it. But in this case, yes, the copy matches exactly what the video says. And when I did the video, I just put my green screen up, I put the black background, I put on a white shirt, and I reiterated the point visually. Like, do you want to stand out? And this video immediately caused somebody to call me and literally signed the deal on that first call, which I think is cool. And basically I asked him, I said, why did you do it? And he's just like, I wanted that. I wanted to be able to do exactly what this video did when I saw it. And so I always thought this, whenever I look back at some of these videos, I'm like, I kind of cringe because it's like you're looking at yourself. But this was a great example of something that generated business, and it literally 17 seconds, and I barely said much, except I think I exuded a lot. Like there was a lot that you could gain from this example.
Yeah, what's so fascinating to me about this post, and even relative to past interviews we've done about social media, is I think there is a natural tendency to go into, and I think appropriately so, educator mode. Let me teach you how to about PA R&D tax credits, which I think is very valid and it's good, but there's also just something to having an opinion, putting out a 15-second video, and just talking about a little bit what you're all about or why what you do matters, or just having kind of a counterintuitive approach to the way you look at businesses, or in your case, the way you look at marketing, could be just as effective.
Well, exactly. And to that point, so on LinkedIn, there are CPAs and accounting firms getting on there and doing the video stuff. So, but what's interesting is like, and I watch them, what they're doing is what you're saying is like, they're always giving tax tips or do this or that. And it's like, for me as a business owner, I'll tell you this, like, I don't want to, this is just me personally, and I'm not passing any sort of judgment, but that isn't necessarily what I want to, what I necessarily want to watch. There's a financial advisor I know, and what I think his approach is interesting is that he's a financial advisor and he works 2 days a week. And so I was encouraging him to talk about that entrepreneurial story about how he built this business, because that is something that I'd be interested in knowing about. And then I might say, oh, and he's a financial advisor, he knows what he's doing. So there's, you can get people are too, they want to rush them getting across that they're the expert, when you can just tell stories about just how you've made successes here or there. And then it dovetails into what you do. And it's a much more natural way for someone to be introduced to you and to trust you. And they're more interested because it's not just like nitty gritty tax details.
Yeah, let me give you one example. We'll link it up in the show notes that came to mind. And I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier, but we have a firm that we worked with, LWS Tax and Accounting. So Blake has been on the podcast a couple times, and they started doing content because he just is kind of a goofball that likes to do videos about fun and meaningful things. And so they've done kind of fun tax meme videos, which I think people just appreciate just because they're a bit funny. He's done local videos about Springfield, Ohio, because he loves the town. I joke that he's kind of like the mini mayor of that town. They've done give back campaigns. actually his content has brought business. But now that I think about it, I don't know if he's ever given a tax tip, but he just puts a spotlight on his customer base, which is, local businesses in Springfield, Ohio, and he has so much fun with it that it naturally attracts other business owners to watch the content, learn a little bit more about LWS tax and accounting. And literally, let's be honest, like, it sounds so silly, but like, if you end up liking the person in the video, you're at least going to give them a shot at your business. Like, it just comes up
Yeah.
so often, right? So
Yeah, no, like and trust, right? That's what we're doing here. We're just doing it at some level of scale. And to that point, like the other snafu that people run into is like, so you tell this cool story about this guy that does his own thing, and so then people kind of have shiny object syndrome, and then they're like, oh, well, he's doing something different. So then they look at what he's doing, but then what he's doing is all wrapped up in his personality, like his friends, his experience, how he may be extroverted, whatever it is. So the trick is really to be committed to kind of figuring out where you fit in. Like, I'm not this like super, like, I'm a little goofy at times. I don't do memes, but I've figured out my own thing by just getting out there and trying. And we are all different by nature. It's just like, are you willing to be you is the real question, and
yeah,
not look at what other people are doing, or not just doing the same thing everyone else is doing.
yeah.
So
Well, let's take a look at TikTok to round out the show, because this has been a lot of fun. But like I said, I'm just so amazed. You're showing me videos that got 80,000 views on TikTok. You've been doing this for or TikTok, sorry, for about a month or 2 months.
yeah.
So I guess kind of walk us through this platform a little bit. Why does the platform matter? And then talk about some of the successes you've had and lessons the audience could take away if they want to explore TikTok for their business.
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting things is it's new, and it has a lot of preconceived ideas of what it is. So there's a lot of chatter amongst, especially in the older, like plus 30 plus, 40 plus, that this is just a dance app for kids, and that's how it originates. But all platforms originate somewhere, right? So LinkedIn was originally for resumes, and now it's like this big business networking platform. So there's an opportunity here because there are mostly kids and younger people monopolizing it. So the platform is going to grow, and more other people are going to come to it. So the earlier you're on a platform and you adopt it, it's I think that's an advantage. And then beyond that, it's just all video. The app itself makes it quite easy to record something and to splice it together. It's really kind of cool. It's just like they give you an interesting tool to create content. And then when you get, and then when you kind of consume some of the other stuff that people are doing, it gives you really interesting ideas on what you can do for yourself. And then when you create a video on TikTok, you can take it to LinkedIn, and then you really stand out, because it's like here I am, I'm literally dancing around a little bit, which
and I love it. I love it. Like, you're dancing, which is really attention grabbing. But like, the subject line is like 3 marketing books that will blow your mind, right? So it's not like you're actually have a topic about dancing or anything like that, but you're like having a little bit of fun with it. And that's clearly the context of that platform, is to have a little bit of fun with it too.
Yeah, and then you can deliver information in really quick ways. And so, it's just like I started posting, and then I had a couple of videos that went viral. It's like, and where are those here? Here it is, like 40,000 views on this one, and the number of shares was also insane. It was like over 1,000 shares. So that's people just spreading my picture and my video just all around, and it just kind of shows you like what's, like what is possible here, and it's just, I don't know.
Is the content the same that you put on TikTok that you do on LinkedIn, or it looks like TikTok you actually have, you're kind of going in the nature of like, it's like a lot of technical things for marketing, whereas LinkedIn is a lot more of the, here's how to position. It's a little bit more, it's less technical and more,
well, in
what
truth,
you classically think of. Yeah.
In truth, because I post so much, like I just post my TikTok videos here too. So that's all coming across on LinkedIn as well. I just repurpose it, just throw it up there. So I try to be the same person everywhere I am. Like, but I would say that what's interesting about the different platforms, and this is why I encourage people to like invest in learning what the platform is and how it's used and how other people are using it, because there's a different context to every platform. And so when you get on a new platform like this, you kind of learn new ways of expressing yourself. I don't know if that sounds weird, but you do. You learn new ways of like, and especially because it's like a new tool, and the way you can record is interesting. Is it feels very raw and behind the scenes. Um, instead of it being this real polished video, which I have as
Yeah.
well. So I experiment with all sorts, but this is just like behind the scenes, uh, quick tip, technical. It just really gives you a sense to really demonstrate what you can do versus just telling people, hey, I do this, I do that.
Stephen, I love it. So if somebody wants to reach out and say thank you for coming on today's episode, they want to check out maybe some of your social profiles, what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. If you go to the search there and you type Stephen Gregory Pope, I'll pop up. On TikTok, I'm at Stephen G Pope as well. And then you can just reach out to me on my website, or on email, Stephen@sgplabs.com. Always interested in talking to people about this stuff. I love to help people brainstorm and kind of knock down some of the barriers that like kind of just get in the way and nag them from doing some of this stuff. And it can be really fun. So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. And if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to check out the video, you want to check out the links, you want to check out the book that he recommended, you can go to jetpackworkflow.com/blog. That's jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll link up all the show notes. We'll do 1,000+ word write-up summarizing today's points, the story structure, the video structure, positioning items we talked about. We'll link up his book. We'll link up his social. And if you really enjoyed today's episode, leave a review or share it with a fellow firm owner that needs to hear the information you heard here today. Stephen, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks so much, man. It was really fun.